It is World Cup season, people. And boy, oh boy, this is a very different World Cup season. Never before seen, we're having a World Cup in the friggin' winter time. What the hell? But yo, it's happening. So be it. Premier League and all of the other leagues are at a halt at the moment. First, though, before we get into this, we have a new guest joining us today in the form of Theo. Or no, sorry, let me not even say that. We have a new guest joining us today. So please, guest, introduce yourselves to the people.
Well, thank you very much, guys, for having me here. My name is Matheus, but as you guys know, I go by Theo. Since pro clubs, that's what I'm known as. So I met Noah playing soccer at Rollins a long time ago. Became friends since then. I met One Sock playing pro clubs online. We became friends as well. And now I'm here joining you guys. I'm representing the champions, which you guys know by now is Brazil, and we have a lot to talk about. And I'm here to ask you guys questions to guide the conversation. So
You know,
thank you guys for having
you
me
know
again.
it's 2022 though, right?
I do know. That's why Brazil is going to be the champion again, boy. 20 years later.
Not the 2002 champions. We're in 2022. So 20 years moving forward. Clear to see that your very unbiased prediction of Brazil is going to be the winner of the entire World Cup. Any reasons why you think this is the case?
Well, Brazil just has the strongest squad along the World Cup. All the squads. Are we gonna cut some parts, bro? Because I feel like is that fine? Okay, my bad.
We can cut as we need, yeah.
Okay, just so I know. All right, so Brazil has the strongest squad of all. We do have other teams that are pretty good too. They have a good shape, like England, Argentina, Spain. But in general, as far as the whole squad, Brazil has the strongest in my point of view. If you want to analyze only the attacking part of it, I feel like Brazil has the strongest by far. If you want to see it at the mid, I also feel like Brazil has the strongest mid. You can compare it to France, but France are missing some important keys, some key players like Kante and Pogba. And you can arguably say that Brazil doesn't have the strongest defense line right now, but I still feel like Brazil has the strongest defense line in the World Cup. So I feel like we're going to be well represented by our players.
Nah, nah. The fullbacks. Have you seen the state of your fullbacks?
Well, that's why they brought Dani Alves, one sock. He's going to be our guy.
The man is twice my age. What is he gonna do?
He's going to run as twice as fast as you, bro. I guarantee you that.
I'm not denying that. He's a very top professional. But we can get into Brazil in more depth as arguably they're one of the favorites. But I do want to go through each of the groups, kind of have a session to predict who's going to go through. I'm sure we're going to have some disagreements. I guess a lot of agreements on, some groups, but yeah. So why don't we kick off with the first group, the hosts, Group A, including Qatar, Ecuador, Senegal, and the Netherlands.
I think
Let's
this
do it.
one, I don't know, you go ahead.
Okay, so can we all agree that the Netherlands are going to be the favorites here by far?
I think so, yeah.
I wouldn't say by far, but yes, I would agree favorites.
Why wouldn't you say by far?
Because I actually think that Senegal has some power to cause some upsets. And looking actually within the Netherlands squad, I think they're missing that focal point at strike. I think Depay is, sorry. I think Depay is a very good player, and I think he adds a lot to the team. But I don't think that he is a clinical enough goal scorer or a true number nine to be able to carry Netherlands in a real convincing fashion. I know that that Mane injury could prove quite tough for Senegal as a competing side in this group. But I still think Senegal have a lot to offer, even besides Mane.
But I mean, we're still looking at the Dutch to come first and probably Senegal to come second.
That was going to be my next question. If it's going to be between Senegal and Ecuador for the second spot, who has an advantage here, given that Sadio is injured? Who has this advantage and why?
I mean, you're the one who watched the most of Ecuador's games. I have to say I don't know much about Ecuador. I want to also give Qatar a chance too. I mean, as a host nation, they won you might laugh, but the Asian Cup in 2019. They've converted, I guess, Brazilians who aren't good enough for the Brazilian national team. There's quite a few of them, and not just Brazil, but other nations too. I want to point them out as someone to look out for. I know a lot of people might be looking at them saying they're just going to be pushovers, lose all 3 games, but I don't know. That first game's against Ecuador too. I think whoever wins that game could have a chance to progress. Yeah.
That's what I was gonna ask you about Qatar, because I know that they had actually signed some Brazilian players, actually, funnily enough. Do you have any insight on that, Theo?
Well, I do not know them personally. I know that they do sign some players. You know, the Brazilian culture is actually pretty big in Saudi Arabia in general and in the Middle Eastern. And that also extends to Qatar. Qatar is also hiring and signing players from Brazil. It's not a new thing. It's happening for, I would say, about 20 to 30 years. They have starting to recruit players from Brazil, especially Saudi Arabia, and other countries are starting to follow up on this new initiative. So that's why you're going to see a few Brazilians playing for Qatar. But to be honest with you, I don't know much about them, and I have to go more in depth to do another analysis about Qatar's Brazilians players.
Well, that's an exciting take. So, for all the viewers out there watching the World Cup, we're probably going to be watching Qatar for the first time. Be prepared to find some interesting talents, because they could be a major threat that is kind of a dark horse team. Moving on to Group B, we have England, who are my personal favorites, Iran, USA, and Wales. Are we similar to Group A? We kind of had an identified winner amongst all 3 of us. Is it fair to assume the same here for Group B?
I would say so.
Yeah, I guess so.
Nobody's going with USA. I mean, we're all live in USA. Come on.
Well, my only question is if England is going to have a hard time to lead a group or if they're going to easily cruise through Group B, you know? I feel like they might face some challenges, like Wales, for example, or even USA, you know? They might present some challenges, but I feel like England's still they still have what it takes to cruise easily through Group B. So no challenges, in my view.
Yeah, I think they have to be the favorites. I think this just comes down to who's going to come second. I'll just go with USA to not anger the fans, but I mean, I don't have much faith in America, to be honest.
Well, Wansak, you actually spoke about in one of our previous World Cup previews. We did one quite some time ago before any of the teams were announced or anything like that. You kind of had some interesting takes on Iran.
Yeah, another Asian country. They struggled in the qualifying stages, but they brought in a manager that took them to the 2018 World Cup and 2014, I believe. Carlos Queiroz, he used to manage Real Madrid. He coached Ronaldo at United. He's a very talented coach. He knows how to shape up his defense. They're going to be hard to break down, but I don't think they have enough to progress to the next stages. And plus, that country is in a turmoil right now. So I don't know what kind of mental state the players are going to be at. Just too much distraction. I think I'm just going to go with USA.
Well, in general, it seems like the quality level is somewhat very even for Iran, the USA, and Wales. So, what do you guys think might make a difference here? Maybe a player like Gareth Bale?
Yeah, certainly. It's gonna be last tournament for him, for Wales. Maybe last game for Wales, even. And Bale has proven so in the Euros. So yeah, having a star player like that, and we know he looks like he's enjoying his football again. He came to LA, the city of football. I said no one ever, but yeah, that could certainly be the biggest factor. But yeah, like you said, whoever progresses to the next round, it wouldn't be a shock out of those three.
Yeah, Bale coming off the back of his MLS triumph could spark some life into the Wales squad. But back to USA for a minute. I feel as though we or fans in general are not giving the US squad enough credit. I think they had a great run in the CONCACAF, and I know everybody's gonna say, "Oh, it's just CONCACAF," but they also have players really rising to the occasion. We've seen now not just Pulisic and Gio Reyna come into the fold in recent years. Even more recently, we've seen Brendan Aronson, Tyler Adams, Serginho Dest all come into the fold into top clubs in Europe. I mean, look at what Brandon Aronson and Tyler Adams are doing for Leeds. I know we spoke a lot about them at the beginning of the season, and Leeds have kind of taken a bit of a downfall recently. And I know Tyler Adams just got a red card. But if you saw the manner in which he got that red card, as soon as he made the tackle for that second yellow, you knew that that registered in his mind. And all of these players that I'm mentioning here, they're all so young. So they all have all got a lot of energy. And I think that a lot of people don't know enough about them to have a true, genuine say about USA's chances here. I think they're going to provide a shock. And I think they're going to be the ones going through with England.
Well, they do have a decent squad. You're right. But what concerns me a little bit is that in latest 5 games, they only won one out of five. And they played the last 2 games against Saudi Arabia, who's not going to play the World Cup, and they played Japan, who is going to be in the World Cup, and they lost by 2-0. And Japan kind of controlled that game. So that kind of raises my concern a little bit for the US. If they show the same level of football as they showed in this last 2 matches, I feel like they're gonna have a hard time to clinch the second spot. But they do have what it takes to grab the spot for sure. But they're gonna have to outperform what they have showed us in this last 2 matches.
Yeah, we can definitely see that matchup when it comes around. To another favorites for this entire World Cup, actually my second favorite team in the sense of who I think is going to win. Group C has Argentina, who I'm sure have now increased their fan base after the Ronaldo interview recently. Everybody's wanting Messi to win now because of that. Also in the group, Saudi Arabia, Mexico, and Poland. Mexico, another CONCACAF team who seems to always make it out of the group stage in every World Cup they've been in at least in recent years. Can they do it again?
Yeah, over Poland, I fancy them 100%. Poland choked 4 years ago so badly. They were the first seed in Russia, and I think they only won once. And I think they might have finished last. Just dreadful showing. Lewandowski tends to go silent when it actually matters, and I expect that to be the case again. Mexico, their squad isn't the same. They're missing Carlos Vela, who and Chicharito. I think they had a fallout with the manager, but and I think Mexico they have even a better squad than USA. Their players, their talent is probably all around better than Poland. So I 100% fancy Mexico to come second. And Argentina, you can include me in those, like you mentioned, added fandom. I 100% want Messi to win the World Cup now.
Theo, I want to get a bit of your insight here as a South American and as an Argentinian rival, I should say. How do you think Argentina are going to perform in this World Cup? Going in as the favorites, Messi last World Cup, they're on this ridiculous unbeaten run. Do you think they can pull it off this time?
Absolutely, absolutely. I just want to make one correction first. I did mention that Saudi Arabia was not going to be in the World Cup, but they are. So I apologize for that. And I do feel like Argentina have high odds of winning this World Cup. I feel like next to Brazil, they are the favorites, right next to Brazil. I just don't feel like they have the defense rigidity as Brazil does. I feel like Argentina do have great defensive players. They have showed great. They have shown us great defense players in the past, and they are known for having a solid four line defense in the back. But I just don't feel like I feel like everybody's hopes are way too high for Argentina to win this World Cup because of Messi and because of the whole atmosphere that's built right now because of Ronaldo. But I just don't see that happening now. I just don't see Messi lifting the trophy in 2022. And that's not because I am a Brazilian fan. I just don't feel like that's actually gonna be, become a real thing. That's not gonna actually turn into, I don't know. We can cut this part. I kind of.
No, they're just dreaming. That's basically what you're saying. Everybody's just dreaming and they're living in dreamland.
Pretty much. But to a point, I do see them as the second favorites. So anything could happen, if they beat Brazil and maybe in a semifinal or even in the finals, we could play them in the finals. I do see Argentina as a very strong squad. They have excellent players in their attacking line. We can name them over here: Di Maria, Dybala, Messi, Lisandro Martinez, and a bunch of other players who could make a difference for Argentina in every single game. So I feel like they're gonna cruise through Group C easily. They're gonna win every single game out of the three, and they're eventually gonna move up to the semifinals where they might, or even the quarterfinals, they might face a challenge there. It depends on how France is gonna do on Group D. If they move on, if they actually go to the round of 16 as a second, moving from the second spot, they might play Argentina in the round of 16. So there might be a challenge since Argentina lost to France in 2018. But I do feel like Argentina have high odds of winning the World Cup, but I just don't see that happening. I just can't visualize it for some reason, maybe because I'm biased. But I just hope that's not gonna turn into reality. Only if they play Germany, I'm gonna be hoping they win. But if not, on sock, I'm sorry, but I don't feel like Messi's gonna take it this year.
Hey, I mean, all I'm saying is it just seems like everything is set up for Messi to win it all. He's on his 993rd game or whatever. The World Cup final is gonna be his 1000th game apparently.
If he makes it.
If he makes it, yes, that is. And I mean, Copa America it used to be every 4 years, but it seems like you guys been hosting it every year now just to get Messi a trophy.
Mhm.
On top of that, the finalissima against Italy, just like it just seems like everything is set up for Messi to win the World Cup. And I'm not the one to, sit here and offer conspiracy theories, but you ask me if FIFA's corrupt, they're 100% corrupt. There's no denying that. I mean, could we see some nonsense here to get Argentina into the final and Messi wins the World Cup? To me, it just seems like everything is set up that way.
I think that's taking it a little too far. I do see the corruption that you mentioned, but I feel like FIFA having a say about Argentina moving up to the finals is a bit too much. I don't feel like they have a say in that. They might. We never know, what happens behind the scenes. And it seems like everything is set up perfectly for Messi to win. But that's why I see the frustration coming from, everybody excited for Messi to win, but then that's not going to turn into actual reality. Let's see. He just won the Copa America, like you mentioned. It's happening every 2 years now. So I feel like that was the trophy that Messi needed to win with Argentina. So I think he's done. He's good. He's chilling. He's not gonna need the World Cup title.
For me,
Hey,
I'm with. Oh no, go ahead.
no, you go.
For me, I'm with Theo on this one. I don't see it happening just from a visual perspective in my gut. I just think they're gonna fall a bit short. But the reason I do have them as one of the favorites is because the passion in that team, the passion for Messi, the teammates, they just look like they'll do anything for this guy. They will run into a frigging brick wall for him. They'll do it. And I think that's going to be the difference here. When you look on the performances of, let's look at, for example, Emi Martinez. His clean sheet record, and I know it's a bit, the data, the stats is a bit biased because Argentina have been winning their games anyway. But the amount of clean sheets that Emi Martinez has kept for Argentina, as opposed to his performances for Aston Villa, crazy difference. And to me, that passion can be the thing that carries them over the finish line. But at that point, it's just going to be something that carries them over the finish line. Now, a team that did have everything it took to get over the finish line in 2018 of the last World Cup, France, they are in a group that you should expect them to go ahead and be first by a distance, win every single game. But as we've seen in the past, how many World Cups? Somebody can let me know, but every single time, the champions have been eliminated in the group stages. Are we to see that conspiracy theory, as Wansak says, are we going to see this happen again?
Had there been better nations in that group, I would have said possibly. But Australia, just very poor. They had to go through the playoffs to actually qualify for the World Cup. Tunisia, again, I don't fancy them that much. I feel like France might come in second though in this group. Denmark, they played Denmark, I think a few months ago, and they lost. In general, I just give France no chance really for this tournament.
Well, actually, they lost to Denmark twice. 2-0 this last game and 2-1 back in March of this year. And what concerns me about France is that they only won one game out of their last 6 games. I agree with Wansock on this. I don't see Australia or Tunisia having what it takes to beat France or even to tie with France, let's say. So I do see France and Denmark moving up. It's just a matter of whoever's going to win the game between them two. And if France finishes up in the second spot, they might face Argentina in the round of 16. Sorry. So if France finishes up in the second spot, they might face Argentina in the round of 16, which is going to be a tough challenge for them. We already saw that in 2018, and anything can happen now. So they got to make sure they finish up in the first spot if they want to aim for a title, let's say.
So you've mentioned now a couple times about recent performances, last 5, last 6 performances. A lot of people tend to go into the World Cup and make their predictions based on the squad or the list of players that are traveling. You sound like you're making your judgments based on form, recent form. Do you have one side that you lean towards, whether that's form or squad or a bit of balance?
I would say more towards the momentum side of it. I look back to their the last matches just to see how they've been performing in these last matches. Because for sure, leading up to the World Cup, the manager is going to choose the players that makes the most sense for him to bring into the World Cup. So that's what concerns me a bit, because they haven't built this momentum in the Nations League. They lost to Denmark twice in these last 6 games, which concerns me because they're going to be facing Denmark again. And those players who played, of course, not all of them were starters. The coach probably was trying out some new players as well. But that's the backbone of who's he's going to bring into the World Cup with them. So if they perform like this in this last 6 matches with only one win out of the six, that raises some concern for sure because it doesn't feel like the momentum is there for them.
So you're looking at team form as opposed to the individual form of the players.
It's a mix of both, but yeah, team form, yeah, for sure. Team form triumphs the individual performance of players. Because at the end of the day, the team wins or loses, not the player specifically.
Yeah, and that's why I said Argentina. We go back last year, Euros. Italy went very under the radar prior to the tournament, but they had built up some great momentum. And they throughout the tournament they beat, or I think it was after the tournament, they beat the world record for most consecutive games unbeaten in a row. And that's what we're seeing with Argentina right now, off of a fresh Copa America win, unbeaten in what 30 plus games. We could see the repeat of Euro 2020.
Yeah,
Do you feel like players like Kante and Pogba are going to make a difference for France, given that they're not going to be playing this year?
Yeah, big miss. It's gonna be filled by Chouameni and Camavinga, right? Probably both talented but very young. Do they have enough to carry France the way Kante and Pogba and Griezmann did?
I don't know. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that looks a bit too raw of a midfield to to really get stuff going. And that's kind of my same mindset on Spain. Moving on to the next group. Spain in a group with Costa Rica, Germany, and Japan. So if anything, this is looking like probably the most group of death, if we even have a group of death this World Cup. Theo, I know you're a bit biased towards Germany because the man is salty as hell after that 7-1. But that's why I'm going to start with One Sock's opinion on this group.
Wait, really? Come on, that was 8 years ago. Still,
And we beat them after that too, one sock. You got to remember that.
right? But Germany won the World Cup, which is all that matters. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to not see Spain and Germany progressing to the next round. I saw Germany's lineup, their squad. Some controversy there. He called up Mukoko, who he's never played in that. It's gonna be his first cap if he does play in the World Cup. Called up Fulkrug, I think that's how you say his name, an informed striker from the Bundesliga, but also didn't call up Hummels, who seems to be the best informed defender right now for Germany. That's why I'm gonna go for Spain. I think Spain are just more organized overall and just has less holes in their squad compared to Germany. And again, Germany's missing their striker, Timo Werner, as well. Yeah, I think Spain's gonna top this group.
Well, even looking
No,
on, oh,
go
sorry,
ahead.
I'll switch. Even looking on that Spain side that you're talking about, they kind of have similarities to France in the sense that they're carrying a young midfield. Pedri is going, they've left Thiago Alcantara at home. So even speaking on that, Theo, Theo's a Liverpool fan, by the way, for those who don't know. You would have a lot of insight on Thiago Alcantara. Do you feel like Spain are going to miss out on the fact that they've left this experienced midfielder at home and decided to go on with the youth of Pedri?
No doubt. That's a big miss for sure. But you also got to see pros and cons. You got to see why Thiago wasn't picked. Then maybe it was because Valverde, if I'm not mistaken, he's the coach, he's the manager for Spain. He might see more faith bringing Pedri than Thiago, and actually got to be more than faith. You got to be actually the technical ability of the player. He might actually think that it makes more sense for him to bring Pedri, who's a younger guy, more talented, maybe faster, runs more than Thiago, maybe gets tired less quicker than Thiago does. You never know. There are a lot of variables that they're taken into consideration. But I do feel like Thiago is a big miss for sure. It's a big miss. I would
And
love to see Thiago playing for Brazil, for example.
do you think that this miss is going to cost them?
To be honest, I don't think so. I feel like Pedri can also do as a great job as Thiago would. I don't feel like they're gonna be feeling Thiago's departure, let's say, that much. For sure, he's gonna be missed, but Pedri can level up to Thiago's game for sure. And if he was chosen, there's a reason. So that's why I don't feel like that's gonna affect Spain that much. And I do think they're gonna lead the group stage too. I feel like they're a little more technical than Germany is at the moment, and they have more better momentum towards them too. So I feel like Spain is going to top the group, and Germany is going to come second with no surprises.
Pretty straightforward with that one. No hiccups, no upsets. Moving on to Group F. Belgium, Canada, Morocco, and last World Cup's finalist, Croatia. One suck. Thoughts on the group placement here?
This just feels like a group full of dark horses. No clear number one. At least for me, I don't view Belgium that way. Their backline is pretty much identical to 4 years ago, except their ages. They're 4 years older now. I think Belgium has lost their chance. I think that time has passed. So, maybe same with Croatia too. I mean, Modric is what, 37, 38? But I think you gotta go with those two still, right? They're the most proven. Croatia always punches above their weight. I think they're gonna come first, and Belgium might just come second behind Croatia.
So, Theo, looking at these groups and speaking about the fact that they're all kind of dark horses, once I mentioned that Croatia tend to punch mostly above their weight. All of these teams have different standards, they have different expectations, and they have different goals in mind of what they would consider a success this World Cup. Who do you think is going to exceed their expectations the most out of this group?
Well, that's a good question, and I would say Belgium, and I will tell you why. It's I feel like Croatia actually surprised everybody in the last year because no one had those expectations towards Croatia. And I feel like those expectations are kind of taken into consideration now. Everybody's expecting Croatia to play not as good as the last World Cup, but maybe to play better than what they have been playing this previous games. And nobody has this kind of expectations towards Belgium anymore because we feel like somewhat their time has gone, that they don't have what it takes anymore to win the World Cup. Like Wansak mentioned, their defense line is still the same. They're just 4 years older, which could mean more experience, but could also point to flaws, to bigger flaws in their defense system too. So, given those expectations, that's why I feel like Belgium maybe have higher odds because nobody's going to be expecting them to win as much as they did in the previous World Cups. And now that all the highlights are going to be over Modric and Croatia in general, I feel like they might not play as well as they played the last World Cup. So that's why I see Belgium topping the group and Croatia coming up as a second place.
Well, looking at Belgium's squad, I think there's no doubt that on paper they have one of the most dangerous squads with some of the best individual footballers, even right now. What do you consider exceeding expectations, or where do you kind of expect them to end up? Where would be fair?
Well, they want to be champions, don't they? Last World Cup, they ended up in the third place, which is not bad at all for a country that has never moved up that far before. But if they want to exceed their own expectations, I would say they got to finish up anywhere above the third place. But I feel like the general perception is that Belgium is not going to go past the quarterfinals anymore. So I think for me, Belgium is going to exceed my expectations if they move up to a semifinal, for example.
I think they get knocked out the first round. They play either Spain or Germany.
If they finish up, oh, that's true. That's true.
That's gonna be an interesting take for sure. Your side, Theo, Brazil. Any question about them topping the group? No question, right?
None for me, bro.
Yo, by the way, pause. This is gonna end in less than a minute, so it might just shut off randomly.
So what do you guys want to do?
But may I have to just make another one. Like just I'll send
Okay.
I'll send another invite.
All right.
Just quit it then.
Yeah, I'll just quit it then.
Okay.